Hi everyone, and welcome to the next session of our virtual tour in our operations, in our businesses. And I'm pleased to introduce to our consumer group today. We've been picking up three very interesting people from our active social media community. First, we've got from Toronto, LANI WELLS, who's a sustainable consumer, denim lover, and founder of the blog Simply Suset. Welcome, LANI.
Thank you.
And then from Helsinki, we have professional musician Sami Yaffa joining us. Some of you maybe have heard about Sami. He's been playing the bands like Hanoi Rocks, the New York Dolls, and Joan Jett and Blackhearts. And then he's been also recording with the people like bands like Bruce Springsteen and The Slash. Happy to have you, Sami, here.
Hey, how are you?
Okay. And from London, I'm happy to introduce to MAZ SMITH. MAZ is a recent graduate from the University of Edinburgh, studying fashion and apparel design. And now she also works as a sustainability writer and editor. Welcome, everyone.
Hi. Hi.
So I think the first question is really to every one of you. If you could just briefly introduce yourselves and how do you feel about sustainability, and particularly how do you actually put it in action into your own life?
Yeah, so as I was very greatly introduced, I am a sustainability advocate in the fashion industry. I specifically kind of took the route of denim because I've loved denim all my life. And when I was in school, I learned how bad denim in specific was to produce. It was actually the second worst garment to produce besides leather at the time. So when I heard that stat, I was like, well, what are people doing differently out there? And so that's where my research started, and that is where Simply Suset was born. So Simply Suset, I tried to bridge that gap between the denim industry and the consumer, because I found that there is such a disconnect between the supply chain and the consumer that oftentimes people have no idea what the processes were behind their clothing. And people work really hard at all of these sustainable solutions these days. I think they really deserve to know. So what I do in my daily life is try and lead by example. That's kind of the best way I think that's the best thing I can do at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I try and also provide consumers with the information that they need to make informed purchases. But, sustainability to me, it really means it's really a mental shift, and it's a way of life. I don't think, everybody asks me, what can I buy to be sustainable? And I say that you can't shop your way to sustainability. It does not work like that, unfortunately. It does have to be a shift in yourself. It's a different way of thinking, and it's a different way of mentality. And I'd say kind of comes down to being mindful in everything you do, really. And that kind of that will show in your purchases as well. So, yeah.
Okay. What about you, Sami?
Well, I've been known to be a bit of a clothes horse, for a long time. I started playing professionally about 40 years ago, and but back in those days, clothes were in a way valued a little bit more. It wasn't such a buy and throw away culture. It was you made your own clothes and a lot of secondhand clothing, and if you bought a pair of jeans, you kind of like took care of them for a long time. Sometimes for years, you just walked around in the same jeans. And I bring sustainability into my life in different ways. For example, I lived in San Diego for about 3 years in mid-2000s, in 2006, and I had to get around, and so I bought a car. I bought an old beat-up Mercedes-Benz diesel, and I converted to run on waste vegetable oil. And I went to my local Thai restaurants, Chinese restaurants, Japanese restaurants, whoever used oil, cooking oil in their cooking, and I went and gathered it from them. They didn't have to pay to the professional service to come and pick up their used oil. They gave it to me very happily, and I just filtered it in my backyard and poured it straight into the gas tank. And I didn't pollute, and I didn't pay to the oil giants. So I tried to do my best, and I thought, like, when the fast food fashion came, maybe when was it, 2005, I think, when I first kind of like noticed it, that jeans are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and clothing is getting cheaper, and you can get it a lot. And And I just thought that there was something weird with it. And sure enough, there was.
Mm-hmm. Was there any particular moment in your life, Sami, when you figured out that sustainability is important for you?
It's always been like that. It's from my parents and from my brothers and sisters and from my friends and my wife and everybody. It's just kind of like, I remember I lived in New York for a long time, and I remember I bought this fancy, what do you call it? Kierrätys, what do you call it? Recycling bin. I remember that, and I dutifully recycled all the plastics and all the glasses and all the metals and everything. Then I found out that New York doesn't recycle. This was in the 90s. They just throw, the garbage in the same heap anyways. So it was kind of like, and I've been following ever since, like what happens in the cities where I live. What do they do with the garbage? How do they get rid of it? Then I started. I found out about you just by chance, just by reading an article in a Finnish newspaper, and I started digging it more into the fashion industry and the garment industry in general, and how big of a polluter it was. And it literally came as a shock to me. I didn't know. I thought that there was like a recycling system being in place for years and years and years, but there hasn't. So I found out about you, and I thought that you were God's gift to the creation, and I really support what you guys are doing. I came to see your factory in Espoo. I got so interested in it, so I called you guys up and I said, "Can I see the factory? Can I see how it works?" And you showed me the whole thing from the point A to the finished product, and it's very impressive. I really hope that it catches on and kind of fundamentally changes the fashion garment industry.
Mm. What about you, MAZ?
Firstly, Sami, I'm really jealous that you've seen the factory, because I've not seen it and I would love to see it. I've been talking about it for ages. But yeah, so I was a fashion design student at Edinburgh. I graduated last year, but all of my work was like, especially my last year, was like heavily centered around sustainability and ethical design. And yes, I made a lot of my own fabrics because I found it quite challenging as well, especially as a student, to be finding sustainable materials. And I was really fortunate. I took a trip to Mumbai, which the university sponsored me on, and a group of us conducted like research out there on sustainability, and we went the whole way down the production line, and we met workers and got to like really engage with people about that. So that really opened my eyes. I mean, I've always been conscious of it, even since like Rana Plaza, like years ago. I think that's when I first like woke up to it. But yeah, so that's sort of, since graduating, led my career decision, because I was like graduating and then I was like, what am I going to do? And I think if I had gone into fashion and been like just churning out stuff into fast fashion without any like I'd feel too responsible for it. So I was like, I need to take a step back from design and like think about how I can be more responsible. So I guess the way that I like influence other people and tell them how to be more sustainable is just like mainly through other students and students in the year below me, and like people who graduated at the same time as me, just like saying what you can do, and things that they should really consider now, because obviously they're going to eventually be the designers at the top one day. So I think I've hopefully influenced a lot of them to think more about it. But I met you guys at Infinited Fibers so I've been working for actress Maisie Williams for the last year now. And we did a project with you guys in Weekday, which is how I found out about you, and I'm so glad I did. And then met Anne in Paris, and yeah, so since then I've just been super involved in trying to find out what you guys are doing, because I find it's really interesting to know that people are doing such good things, and so just been a big support of you guys since then, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You must commented that you found as a student that it was difficult to find sustainable or ecological materials, fabrics. How do you find it today? Is it still difficult to find ecological fashion, and what kind of information would you need to be able to make good choices?
I think I've been very fortunate, and like I've been interested in it since I was like 14, so I've been studying it for ages. And I've been like grown up being one of the weird ones that knows everything about every single little fiber and the details. But it is hard to get it if you're a student specifically, because you can't get it in small quantities as much. People are, more wanting to work with brands. In terms of buying sustainability, brands don't really advertise it enough. If they are doing it, they don't know, there's a confusion in greenwash of like what's actually happening here. So it's got to move in that way. There's only one way it can move, and it's got to move in that way. So
what would be the information, what would be making you convinced that the fashion you're buying is really ecological?
Well, I guess like it's hard to like give the consumer all information. I know there's like some designers like Eileen Fisher, you can sort of trace the whole process and kind of find back exactly where it comes to, which is a really good thing. But it's because I'm interested in it. I don't know if enough people would want to know the whole production line, or if they're really aware of that. People don't unfortunately think enough about where their clothes come from. But we've obviously been talking about the swinging tag that came on the hoodies and everything. And I think if you have a really cool design swinging tag and like things that are there at your point of purchase, little things might actually sway people. So it's a combination of like all of these things together. But I would want to know like where the fabric comes from. I would 100% want to know that I can recycle it, or that it can be used again, and it has like a further life past my point of just purchasing it in that shop and wearing it for however long. I'd love to know that I can recycle it, or where I can do that. So obviously that's a really good point that you guys have. And I think if that was so clear to consumers, and if they were so aware of that, it would probably change the game quite a lot.
Okay. What about you, Sami and Ani? Do you find it easy to buy sustainable clothing today? And what about the information data? What you're looking for, on what you need to be able to make good choices?
Well, I don't think that there's information for normal consumer at all. I mean, it's kind of like food. People eat whatever is put in front of them, and people just buy clothing. And for me, if I go shopping, I try not to buy so much anymore. I'm not really I'm not buying a lot of clothes. If I do, I buy them secondhand. And I think that there should be a more detailed kind of sustainability reporting going on in the stores, from the brands, especially if you shop online. I think it's kind of easy for the companies to tell where your clothes are manufactured and what fashion, and if the human rights are protected, and if they are made in the proper way. I think that people do have to become more involved with a lot of aspects in their lives, whether it's food or whether it's clothing and all that. It's just, you can't really remain blind to what's going on in the world. It's you can see it happening in all kinds of ways in people's lives in different countries, and you can't. I mean, I understand that if you go work, 9 to 5, and you're just pooped at the end of the day, and you have the kids and all that, you just don't really probably want to, or you just don't have the energy to start checking in, where your kids' Pampers are made, or where the socks are made, and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's the industry itself that needs to change, and it needs to kind of get together with the big players, because there's literally a handful of huge companies that are monopolizing the fashion industry, and they should take responsibility for it, and really start investing on the new innovations and in fabric production and clothing production.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with everything that was said there. It's definitely a complex issue, because as we know, there's always trade-offs to using sustainable alternatives. Like, even using cotton versus hemp, there's so many controversial competing stats, right? People have different opinions on what sustainability means to them. So I'm a huge fan of blockchain. As Maz was mentioning, I really think that it should be available to the customer to be able to see, like from seed to shelf, what happens. They might not look at it on the hang tag, but I think it should be available. And like you were saying, creating beautiful hang tags or swing tags like that. I love the fact that you have a QR code on your infinited fiber tags. I think that is so easy to add to any kind of tag, and it just adds another layer for the consumer to, if they wanted to know, they could easily scan that, pull it up, and see, okay, I know where this cotton came from and I know how it got all the way to the shelf, if they really wanted to know. But I think like some of the things I'd like to see immediately on a hang tag is like the overall impact of a garment, the overall emissions of a garment compared to a standard t-shirt or whatever that garment may be. So add like a comparison, because when you say, oh, we're saving 98% water, the consumer has no idea like how much water was used in the first place. So what does that mean to them? It really means nothing. So I'd like to see a comparison a little bit with the impact, but yeah, I think knowing where it's made and the note that Maz mentioned, knowing if it can be recycled, I think I've never thought of that actually. And I think that's so key. That would be so key, because not only are you buying, it's not, if you buy something sustainably and you don't know what to do with it at the end, you're probably not going to dispose of it properly, and it might end up in the landfill and just create more waste. So I think, yeah, definitely knowing where it's going to go at the end is crucial. It's crucial for sure. But yeah, blockchain, I'm a huge fan of the blockchain technology and just being able to trace your garment back to the beginning. So.
Mm. You all three seem to be having a lot of energy and even also knowledge about buying sustainably. What about your friends, your relatives? Do you feel that they do the same, that they put energy on finding information for the purchases, and do they look for sustainable clothing, sustainable fashion?
I don't really know. I mean, my wife does. Yeah, it's like if you go to a grocery store, she's there for like 5 minutes reading the back of the package of what's, you know, where the food is coming from, and she does the same thing with the clothing pretty much. So, but my friends, and it's usually like the guys in my band, you know, they're using the t-shirts and the jeans that I know that are pretty cheap to buy, and you know, it's they're probably from, you know, one of the 3 or 4 stores where you can get them for cheap and all that. So I don't know how much those guys are really, you know, checking into where they made or how they made.
Is it simply lack of time, or is it lack of interest, or what do you do? What do you think is driving for that?
Well, I don't think it's being brought up, the problem. You know, it's kind of like I just started finding out about it basically because I got interested in it, you know what I mean? But for somebody who doesn't really spend a lot of time in the internet world and whatnot, and it's not really, there's very little information about it. There's not, the mainstream media doesn't really handle it in a way that I think they should. It should be a bigger issue. And it's just basically that, kind of like how I was a few years ago. I just thought that it's handled, and you know, it's not a huge problem, that it's actually creating more waste than the airline industry and and a couple of more industries put together. You know, it's I did not know about that. So it's information, lack of information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Annie and Maz? Your friends, how they behave? Are they the same than you, or are they the same than Sami's friends?
I'll let you go, Annie.
I find, you know, I'm starting to influence my friends around me. I can definitely see that, but I've been on this journey for a few years now, and I'm only starting to really see them care. I find that, you know, for me, when I became aware of the problems, I wanted to change. So I thought when other people became aware, they would also want to change. But I am finding that there is a flimsy relationship between education and action, and it really has to resonate with the person on a personal level somehow, and for them to want to change. And I think convenience just trumps everything at the moment, unfortunately. So, you know, yes, the industry and the brands have to work to try and make sustainable fashion more convenient to the consumer, but we also need help from the consumer too. We need collaboration all together. So, but you know, I still think convenience does trump sustainability. But I've seen so many surveys come out throughout this lockdown saying that consumers are ready to purchase sustainably after. So we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful, but I know it's going to take some time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. My friends are the same. I think that the issue is like, it's it is too easy. It's what you were saying as well about putting food in front of them, Sami, and like people just eating what's in front of them. Also because brands kind of put on this like big glossy, like, you know, like front, and they have like all of these cool shoots that kind of like guide you away from what is actually important about the garment. They make you think that like, oh, if I buy this, I'm going to lead this really cool life or whatever. And they really guide you away from the actual background of the garment. So just to have some education alongside like that, they're still allowed to do that. And obviously that's like, you know, the appeal for the brand and why you want to go there. But if there was something, you know, a bit deeper, so they actually like reached out to you and connected with you as a consumer and were like, we're trying to do something, and like pull people in a sort of different way, but not in a greenwashing way, just in a way that's like can genuinely connect with people. So my friends, maybe like some of them are good, some of them are like quite arty, going to art school, a lot of them buy vintage and doing fashion. A lot of us like sew and repair our own clothes, and I've seen a lot of that during lockdown. I've seen like Levi's been doing some cool workshops and like trying to get people to like revamp their old jeans and stuff, and that kind of behavior is really, really good. So hopefully again after lockdown, as you were saying, Annie, like maybe things will, you know, people will have a stronger connection with their clothes and maybe people will turn around, but we'll just have to wait and see. Time will tell.
What I hear from my friends is that they find it very difficult to buy the ecological clothing or fashion, and then the designs are marginal and the materials are weird. And you, Annie, raised the issue of convenience. I do believe that it plays a big role in here. You've been receiving some swatches from us. How do you feel about those?
I was amazed by the swatches, actually. Like, here's a woven right here, but I also had a jersey one, I had a denim swatch, and honestly, like, it feels, I can't, you know, for me, I'm used to, you know, feeling denim fabrics a lot, and the qualities are very apparent. You can tell when something's bad quality in denim very easily.
Right.
But like the quality is there, the strength is there. It you know, it really just replicates. It replicates denim. Yeah, it doesn't really have any difference.
And is the convenience there?
The convenience is here.
Okay. What about MAZ and Sami?
Well, I came to your factory, you know, and I saw the results of the denim that you guys made, and it was mind-boggling. It was just you know, the same jeans material and quality as what you get. Very, very good quality. I'm not a fabric expert, but this is fabric. This is like real thing. It's not like you think that recycled fabric is somehow less than the proper thing. It's not. It's pretty amazing. It really is.
Excellent. What about you, MAZ?
I'm wearing should I stand up? I'm wearing the jeans. Can you see them a little bit?
Yeah.
I think they're the first pair made, I think, because that was from AZ, for when we did the work with her before. But yeah, they're very comfortable. I've been wearing them a lot, and I've been wearing this hoodie a lot, well, since I've had it. I've been wearing it every day. It feels normal, especially the jeans. Like, I'd say from like having worked with denim and fabric a lot in my background, it feels like a more lightweight than like other denims, but it's so perfect for like a summer jean. Like, I'm gonna wear these out afterwards in the hot weather in London. So yeah, the fabrics are great, and as you said, Sami, they just feel like normal fabric. Like, we can have just normal fabric, like, that is got such a good background and comes from such a good place and can do so many things in the future again. So yeah, no, I love it.
Excellent. And you, Annie, and Sami, you also received some samples. You seem to be wearing the t-shirts what we've been making for you. How do you feel about those?
It's great. It's a little bit tighter than I thought usually wear, but it's a t-shirt. It's really nice. It breathes. It's good. Looks nice. It's a great t-shirt.
That's what I was gonna say. It breathes, because I don't know. I just wondered how it would perform, but yeah. So it breathes, which is important for me. But it's the super soft jersey fabric, and it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the lovely interview and the lovely discussion. I've been really enjoying discussing with yourselves. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for joining us and having this event with us. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
nice meeting you all.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.